Well, the Senate is looking to get a vote done this week. Now, are they going to vote on the whole stimulus package? No. They're actually going to vote on a whole bunch of amendments that were just added, mostly by Republicans, and they're going to be doing that in what they call a vote-a-rama. So all the ideas and amendments that everybody in the Senate that put forth, they have to do a verbal vote or a hand-raised vote to see if what those amendments are actually going to be included in the stimulus bill. Now, there's a couple of big ones included in that, including unemployment benefits, which could be dropped and or extended. And I'm going to get into that in this video, as well as talk about a few other proposals that Republicans are now saying would have more popularity with the American people than this $1.9 trillion spending plan. Hey everyone, my name is Randy. Welcome back to the Late Night Grind. And right now I'm covering the state of these stimulus packages and the state of these stimulus check updates because honestly, it's of great interest to myself. So if you're not subscribed, you're new to the channel, go ahead and click that subscribe button and don't forget to tap the bell notification icon so that YouTube will notify you when I release a new video. So don't forget to do that. And for all my current subscribers and everybody that just wants to support the channel, the best thing that you can really do is by smashing that thumbs up button, smashing that like button. It really helps out with that YouTube algorithm. Basically sends a little message to YouTube saying, yep, this is the video I was looking for. It's really relevant to me. And so what YouTube does is push this out to other audiences. All right, well, let's get into it. So the Senate is eyeing a vote for the entire bill. Will probably happen on Monday. From what we hear, there's a whole pile of amendments that they have to vote on before they can actually put the final bill together and give it a final vote before then sending it back to the House of Representatives. And included in that are some important things that people are going to want to pay attention to, specifically involving unemployment benefits. Now, Joe Manchin, who is more of a fiscal conservative, he's been pushing for more targeting. In fact, he was one that led some of the Democrats to speak with Joe Biden on lowering the income caps in terms of who would qualify for the stimulus checks and who wouldn't. And right now, it looks like they are lowering those qualifications. Not the low end, which is the $75,000 per individual or $150,000 per couple. They're looking to shrink that high end. So essentially that phase out program where you would still get stimulus, you just wouldn't get as much. Right now, that phase out is looking to be from $75,000 to $80,000 as a single, or $150,000 to $160,000 as a couple. So not much of a phase out. It's going to be a pretty quick drop off. It's now estimated that approximately 12 million people will be without stimulus checks thanks to Joe Manchin's phase out plan. Now, one of his other points was he actually wanted to get that unemployment insurance boost, that $300 per week boost that's currently going on, which was then written into this bill to become $400 a week. Joe Manchin thought that the government should just continue what they're doing and just stick with the $300 program. And so this is one of the things that they're going to be voting on. Now, from what I read, it looks like there could be some compromising going on. As one of the lawmakers said, if they do go with a $300 per week benefit, they're actually going to look to extend those benefits by another month. Right now, as it's written, it would go till the end of August. So what he was saying was that, well, if we're going to have to stick with the $300, then we want to push this to the end of September and give another month. Or if they stick with the $400 per week benefit, then they're likely going to keep it expiring at the end of August. So not going to get that extra month in September. Now, some of the time frames that they're talking about largely is guided by the economic reports that are currently coming out. In fact, just earlier today, the jobs report came out, and it looked a lot better than what some people thought it would. The U.S. actually added several 100,000 more jobs than they thought was going to happen. The unemployment rate overall is down to 6.2%, which is one of the lowest points it's been since the pandemic began. Not only that, the leaders in job growth, in adding jobs, was actually the hospitality, restaurant, and bar sector. And now that some states are going full open, mainly Texas, Mississippi, and I think Tennessee was another one, and there are going to be a lot more states that follow that are going full open, restaurants and hospitality are going to be one of those sectors that you're going to see the biggest boom in, especially as far as job creation. And it's interesting when you pair that with the sectors that lost the most amount of jobs. Number one was government, which lost 86,000 jobs, which I thought was very interesting. But the one that I really pay attention to is manufacturing. Manufacturing added 21,000 jobs, and that's a key indicator of just general economic health, not just from a recovery of the pandemic standpoint, but just overall. Because it means, A, the economy's growing, and B, when we can add more manufacturing jobs, it means the reshoring that really started several years ago and really picked up several years ago is continuing. And that's only going to add to further improve America's economic outlook. And so when you put all of those factors together, this is why some Republicans are really steaming at this $1.9 trillion spending plan. We don't need it as much as you think we do. and half the stuff in it isn't even going towards improving economic factors or doing anything virus related. And so several Republican lawmakers basically put out their own proposals out there, one of which was basically a tongue-in-cheek proposal, which basically just said, well, listen, if we're going to spend this much money, let's just give everybody $10,000, a $10,000 stimulus check for everybody. We'll still spend the same amount of money, but all of the money would be going directly to the American people and thus into the American economy. Obviously, not many people were going to vote for that, especially not the Democrats. But his whole point was that if we're going to be spending money, why are we sending money overseas? Why are we spending money on pet projects that don't affect or help American people? And then not only that, it was followed up by Peter Major, who a Republican, who put out his own proposal, which actually started to gain a lot of support. Now, the problem is it's just too late in the game. Democrats are already set on pushing this $1.9 trillion spending plan through. But Peter Major, his proposal was actually, instead of $1,400 checks, to give $2,400 checks to everybody, still spend hundreds of billions of dollars on vaccines, testing, distribution, PPE, and money to get schools and businesses reopened. And the rest of it would go in the form of direct checks and unemployment insurance to the American people. Basically cutting out all of the excess spending, extra pet projects, money for overseas stuff that Republicans think are just absolutely ridiculous and shouldn't be included in this bill. And in fact, his proposal was over $1 trillion less, so less than $900 billion to give all of that stuff that I just mentioned. He was actually on several TV programs talking about it the other day, but I think it's just a little late in the game. But it's very interesting to note if something like that could have an impact on this fourth stimulus package that Joe Biden wants to put together, the infrastructure package, as Republicans are really trying to get this message out there that, well, if we're going to spend money, let's just keep spending money on the American people, on things that help the economy and the virus, and leave everything else out. So as the Senate goes through their voting process with dozens and dozens of votes that they have to go through, it's speculated that they should be ready to vote on the full package by approximately Monday. The video I put out the other day said there could be days of delays, and there was a little bit of a delay as one of the Republican senators forced a voice reading of all 700 pages of the bill that they have compiled so far, which took 10 hours and 44 minutes and finished up at about 2 in the morning to a largely empty chamber, but nonetheless, he made them do it anyway. So now they do have to send it back to the House of Representatives because it's a different bill than what the House actually passed. But Nancy Pelosi said that so far it doesn't look like there are any changes that have been made that the House would not go ahead and pass and vote for because they're in a hurry to get this to Joe Biden's desk as quickly as they can. They are rushing to do this before the March 14th deadline, which is when some unemployment extension benefits actually run out. So I'd love to know your thoughts. Leave a comment in the comments section down below. I'd really, really appreciate it. So thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you giving it a big thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on the next video.